Good afternoon, everybody. You're welcome to the second session of the CHCWM program of January 23 batch. As told to all of you yesterday, uh, uh, today we'll be discussing about principles and life cycle approach for health waste management from waste minimization to treatment. So, to talk on this particular topic, the very important topic, we have invited Dr. Lalitha from Maulana Azad Medical College, New Delhi, and she
Sorry,
is very much.
MSW Medical College.
Yes, madam. Yes. So thank you. So she is very much with us, and of course, she is associated with this CHCWM program of IGNO since inception. And Professor Ruchika Kuba, our Director of School of Health Sciences, is supposed to join, but due to preoccupation again today, she could not make it. Maybe towards the end of the session, she might join. So you all are requested, dear learners, you all are requested to please raise your issues towards the end of the session. First of all, Dr. Lalita will make her presentation, and then we will take up questions from each one of you, if there is any. And Dr. Lalita will try to respond to all those queries which are bothering you, which are pertinent to the topic. So thank you very much, madam. You are welcome to IGNO, and I request you to kindly take over and talk on the topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your introduction. I'll just share my PPT. Is the slide visible?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
visible.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I have a problem with Google Meet always. I'm not able to go for full screen. I'll be just going
What
in
I
this. There are two presentations. Let me just close one. 1 minute. Let me just go. There are two meetings. I'll just sign off.
The PPT was visible, madam. Earlier it was visible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry for that technical glitch. Okay. Is the slide visible? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Sorry for the technical glitch. Okay. In this session, we will be just going through what is biomedical waste. I think you all know, but just reiterating and understanding this. What is the nature of biomedical waste? Why we need to manage biomedical waste? And components of biomedical waste management system and principles of waste management, especially the 4 R's. So, what do you understand by waste? Can I know what is waste according to you people? What is waste? Can anyone tell?
Any,
What is waste?
anything that is
According to
not
Google,
anything that
which
is not
anything
useful.
Yes, yes,
according to dictionary meaning, anything which is no longer in use or no longer needed is a waste.
correct. So anything which doesn't require. So for example, let me say this: we use milk cover, right? And the cover is handed over to the kabadi wala or someone, but that is going to be a resource for him, right? Agree or not agree?
Agree.
Agree, ma'am.
Yeah. So waste is, you're rightfully so. It is an any item that is not of immediate use for the immediate owner, but it can be used for someone else. So now they are relooking at defining waste in a different way. They usually now refer it as a resource in the wrong place. Okay. So in essence, the definition of waste is subjective. What a waste is for me may not be a waste to someone else. So if you look at waste related to hospital waste, we have different terminologies is coming through and through. We had first called it as hospital waste, then we called the terminology as healthcare waste. Now we are referring it as to biomedical waste or medical waste. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between hospital and healthcare waste?
Yeah, hospital waste we can say only in the hospital premises where the patient is admitted or patient is treated. But healthcare facility means all kind of health facility. It means investigation also included in this category, and some research institute also categorized in this category.
Perfect. So actually, we started with calling as hospital. Then it just refers to people who are admitted in the hospital. But there are so many other places we deliver healthcare. Your clinics, laboratories, blood banks, where directly the patient may or may not be there, but we may miss out. That doesn't come in the ambit of hospital. So they went on to call it as a healthcare waste. In fact, WHO Blue Book refers it as healthcare waste. It's a broader umbrella under which you can cover hospital waste. Biomedical waste is one step ahead in our country context. Under the rules, we define healthcare waste as a biomedical waste management waste rule waste. So, let's look at now biomedical waste. So, what is this hospital waste or biomedical waste? It's just that hospital waste which is coming from all categories of healthcare waste, from a very small clinic or a dispensary till the major larger medical college hospitals or super specialty hospitals. It just not restricts to human care also. It also looks at animal hospitals. That means the veterinary hospitals. So if you look at the definition of biomedical waste now under the rules, especially in our Indian context, we refer it to as any waste which is generated during the diagnosis, treatment, or immunization of either human beings or animals. All these words are equally important. Your diagnosis is important, that means to say your lab comes in there. Treatment is important. That means your hospitals, all types of hospitals, that is clinics, nursing homes, everything come here. Treatment, when I say treatment, it not necessarily means allopathic. It also brings in our other allied sciences, like this your Ayush facilities also. So treatment, whether be it allopathy or Ayurvedic or homeopathy, all those things also come. And again, immunization, it refers to immunization of both human beings or animals, and also research activities, just not the process of diagnosis, treatment, and immunization, even during research activities, or you're producing the vaccines or producing the drugs in such places. That is why your pharmaceutical companies or vaccine manufacturing companies also come under the ambit of biomedical waste management rules. And also, the newly added thing is our health camps. We do lot of camps now, not only from the hospitals. We have NGOs doing some political move or anybody, but the lot of waste generated even there. So that waste also is considered biomedical waste, because the waste is, well, again, basically generating from the human beings, and that can definitely affect the human or health. So when you look at our biomedical waste rules, uh, so you had, I think, when was the old rule formed in our country? Anybody can tell? 2016 is our new rules. When was our new old rules was formulated? Anybody? Is biomedical waste rules just started in 2016? Didn't we have any rules before?
In 1998.
Yes, we had rules, biomedical waste management rules, that is healthcare waste management rules, 2000 management and handling rules, which was in 1998. Because of its little more of cumbersome, and as we have understood the process of waste management and all, we have now come to the 2016 rules. So what I've highlighted, that red color, that is your Ayush hospitals, health camps, medical surgical camps, vaccination camps, blood donation camps,
हाँ नेगी जी बोलो.
and first aid rooms. These are all newly added.
हाँ नमस्ते केदार जी बोलो.
Sir, kindly can you mute yourself if
हाँ वो जो MDB फॉर्मेट में.
okay. So yeah, this the highlighted ones are the ones which are newly added in the rules. So the ambit of biomedical waste management rules is wider, and it covers more areas. So now look at the, coming to the biomedical waste types of waste. What are the different
Ma'am,
types?
can you
The
show
varied
the
waste
previous slide? Yeah, ma'am.
previous slide, is it?
The newly added rules.
Yeah. Yeah. In the newly added, the ambit has increased.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Just a minute. Excuse me. Sorry. So we have, if you look at the hospital setup or any healthcare setup, the types of waste generated is varied, and the toxicity varies, the quantum of waste varies, and the type is waste. So we have infectious waste coming out, sharp waste, genotoxic waste. Can you give an example for each of this? Some of you, can you give example for infectious waste?
Ma'am, urinary bags or gloves or PP kits,
Very good. Sharp waste.
needles,
Needles
blades,
वगैरह है
or instruments.
Okay, genotoxic waste is where the genetic research will be happening there. Waste contaminated with heavy metals.
Ma'am, in the radiological labs or chemotherapy centers.
Yes. Any other common areas apart from cancer centers? Heavy metals can get contaminated, and waste can get contaminated with heavy metals. If you're using mercury thermometers, right? Okay, radioactive waste, pathological waste, usually in the lab. Pharmaceutical waste can happen everywhere, chemical waste, and pressurized containers. Okay, now looking at this quantum of waste, do we have general waste coming up in our hospitals?
Yeah.
Yes, right? So now if you look at 100% of the waste together, what percentage of this waste is all this input together, infectious and toxic waste? Can anyone give a guess?
Ma'am, 30%.
Percent?
10 to
Okay.
15%. 10 to 15%.
50%. Okay. Any other answers?
20%, ma'am.
Okay, good. I think you're all close to the rules. Actually, if you look at our hospitals, 80% of our waste is general waste. Only 15 to 20% is our infectious or hazardous waste, which accounts for 20%. Okay, so what does this convey? Basically, it tells that we have only 20% which is infectious and hazardous. The rest is non-infectious and non-hazardous. So it's our duty to see that we separate this 20% from the 80%. So that will ease our problem, where we can only concentrate on handling this 20% of this infectious waste. Otherwise, we have to put efforts to handle this whole waste as 100%. It's just like this: you have a basket of apples and you have one apple, rotten apple to add it to that. What will happen in due course? The entire basket becomes rotten, right? So you have entire waste becoming 100% if you do not separate this 20%. So if you do not separate your 20% from your 80%, the entire waste, that is 100% of your waste, will be infectious waste. Okay, so that is where your segregation or separation of waste lies an important role in our biomedical waste management. So as we told, 20% is infectious, so our focus should be on separating this 20% from the 80%. So 80% of waste can be handled like any other general waste. So what, who will be affected? Can anyone tell whom this healthcare waste or biomedical waste, whom is it going to affect?
Uh, Staff who is working in the health facility, visitors, patient, their attendants, outside patient like laundrymen, any
Yes,
other who
very good.
visit the hospital.
Yes, I think the first people who are going to get affected is medical staff. Okay, that is the doctors, nurses, technicians, and group D workers who are directly coming in contact with the waste. The second is the patients whom we are treating. I think it's our duty, right? If a person comes for some disease, we are to treat him and send him safely. We should not add another infection and send him, right? Correct? Agree with
Hospital
me or
acquired
not?
infection like that.
Yeah, hospital acquired infections, one of the reasons could be your improper waste management. The other group is your support staff, those who are collecting waste from your hospital and going, that is your biomedical waste treatment facilities, waste collectors. And apart from that, in the community, we unfortunately we have unauthorized recyclers, rag pickers, who can pick up your waste and use it for recycling, and they may be posed to different health problems. So what are the health problems we can get from this healthcare waste? Can you name what are the hazards of because of healthcare biomedical waste?
You can get infections, drug resistant infections. You can get
Okay.
allergies, and
Yes, which is a common infection which you can get because of your needles.
Hepatitis B.
Hepatitis B, good. HIV, right? Hepatitis C. So one of the thing is, as Madam said, it's infection of healthcare workers. They are prone for HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and other respiratory infections also. Apart from that, patients, because they are already immunocompromised, their immune status is little bit lower than compared to all of us, right? So they can easily catch up some infections if it is there, if we do not segregate our waste. Then of course, rag pickers or in waste handlers, because of their poor knowledge and lack of awareness, they do not know the grievance of this waste, because in the hurry to generate money or something, they handle this waste without any precautions or personal protective equipments, and definitely they are at a higher risk of getting this thing. And apart from that, we have our animals are around, along like living along with us, right? We have cows, dogs, name the animals, they are there with us, which are harmless. But I think you must have seen incidents, no? We have seen examples of cow belly has so much kgs of plastics. All this is because of our poor waste management, not generally in biomedical waste. In general, our waste management is only need to be completely looked at. Apart from that, if we burn our waste, it can lead on to air pollution. If we dispose our liquid waste or without treating, it can lead on to water pollution and soil pollution. So these are some of the hazards of biomedical waste. So basically, it will affect the people who are working within the hospital also, and those who are working at the in recycling industry and waste treatment facilities and rag pickers and recyclers, and more so, generally it can also affect the community indirectly as well. So these are the hazards of hospital waste. Now, I think infectious waste, we already gave some examples. What is infectious waste? It's any waste contaminated with blood or body fluids. It could be your anatomical waste, animal waste, even used sharps, laboratory waste also. But used sharps will have a special precaution because it has a potential to injure also. So we handle the sharp infectious waste as a separate category. So, what are the concerns with infectious waste? They have bloodborne pathogens, and blood and body fluid become being a very easy vehicle to transmit these pathogens. They can transmit these infectious infections and especially the resistant strains. And there will be presence of concentrated culture of pathogens, and invasive sharp waste will in fact facilitate these pathogens get into the body. So these are some of the examples, especially where lab waste, which is coming, it's a highly infectious loaded uh, waste, which can be potential for many organisms. So what are the infections which can be transmitted? Some of the examples are, as you all told, hepatitis A, B, C, HIV, AIDS, cholera, typhoid, dysentery, staphylococcal infections, strepto, anthrax, candida infections. So, just to quote how significant, in 1992, 8 cases of HIV infection were recognized as occupational infections. Because of occupational related infections, the 8 cases of HIV occurred in 92. And two of this was predominantly which occurred in waste handlers was because of transmission through wounds, because probably they didn't wear the personal protective equipments. Similarly, we have quotes from USA also that all are because of improper waste management, the potential chances of getting infected and occupational exposure and HIV infection. I think we being in healthcare sector, we must be all very careful and let us be selfish. Assuming that we are also at risk, we should take all necessary precautions. So we have to take care of not only ourselves, we have a family too, which is which is depending on us. So we should not take any infection back home. In that context, at least we must take care precautions to handle this medical waste. So, as I told, what are the hazards which at the workplace, when I and you working in the hospitals, we can contract infections. Apart from contract of infections, it can increase the nosocomial infections for the patients who are already there in the hospital for some other reason are prone for hospital acquired infections. This in turn will cause increase the cost of treatment, will increase the duration of their stay in the hospital, because their hospital acquired infections they may have to treat again. You have to give more drugs, more drug resistant microorganisms. Chances are very high. Cost will increase. Okay, and it is an indicator of quality control. It means to say that if your hospital acquired infections is going up, it does reflect very poorly on our quality control measures. And more so, all this biomedical waste management system as such will help in improving the housekeeping measures. Any doubts still here?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Now, what are the effects on environment? These are the effects which can happen at the workplace. Now, what are the effects on the environments? So, one is you have pathogens which can, through airborne, it can transmit some of the communicable disease, be it typhoid, tuberculosis, or some any airborne infections. Secondly, all your liquid waste, if you dispose it directly, or even for that matter solid waste also, you just dump it outside, rainwater comes in and washes these pathogens into and can cause the soil and water pollution. Second, air pollution. If there is combustion of refuse, especially we have what is called as dioxins and furans, which can especially come out of your plastic waste. Okay, so we have what is called as the Stockholm Convention. I'll just be talking a little later on that, wherein all your plastic, all your burning, open burning. That's why we do not recommend any open burning. Any burning of plastics and all will release your what is called as dioxins and furans. These are part of dirty dozens. The Stockholm Convention has listed about 12 toxic gases which are there, of which dioxins and furans are one of the waste which are pollutants which can be released from biomedical waste. Then if you do not properly dispose your waste, there is scope for reuse of syringes, needles, polythene bags, catheters, and rubber tubes, bottles. These are all potential for recycling or reusing. So we must properly dispose this, take precautions to dispose it properly. In fact, they say the number of injections given is more than the number of injections syringes manufactured. That means to say that there is reuse or recycling which is happening, but reuse is not wrong, but it has to be properly done. That means it has to be disinfected and then taken all necessary precautions to ensure that there is no infections, and then use the syringes or any other materials. So do we recommend this? I think this was one of the commonest scene which we were seeing before.
No, ma'am, we don't recommend this.
This was
Open
the
burden.
backyard scene which you could see initial before. I think if you recall.
Right, ma'am.
But now we do not recommend that. As I was telling, dioxins and furans are potential to come out of this kind of acts. Now, again, solid ferments, waste ferments are there that can attract bleeding and attract rodents. Toxic products can lead on to accidental combustion. And more often, if you have a waste just scattered here and there, it definitely not visually acceptable feature for any one of us, correct? That is the hazards of waste. So if you look at now biomedical waste, we can call it as is it a occupational safety issue? Do you agree?
Right,
Yes, it's going to affect you and me who are working in the hospital, right? So it is
right,
definitely an occupational safety issue. Patient safety issue,
right.
yes, because
Yes,
patients are vulnerable, they are very much prone to get infections, and if our waste management system is not proper, they can definitely get the infections because of our poor management. Environmental safety issue, definitely yes, because it can cause air pollution, soil pollution, and water pollution. And the most important of all these, I feel, is an attitudinal issue. People will feel, why me? It's not my job. Correct? Doctor feels treatment is my job, not disposing the waste. Nurses is caring the patients is my job, not mine. It's a class 4 employee. Do you agree that it's only the class 4 employee's job?
no, it is everybody's moral
It is
responsibility.
everybody's job. Each one have a role to play, and especially I feel even the doctors and nurses who generate waste are the primary people who must take the onus and see to that they segregate, because that is the most important and a primary step in the waste management. So we must safely dispose our waste, very well knowing that it's a environmental issue, occupational safety issue, patient issue, and more important, attitude issues. And I must definitely say we have come a long way now that people are aware of the importance of biomedical waste management, and they started segregating. What is little more important is taking the ownership and seeing that it is done much more effective. So, if you come to the principles of waste management, we have four R's which we usually talk of. Can anyone give example for this? What is the difference between each of this? Reduce waste, reuse waste, recycle waste, and recover waste. One example, or what do you understand by this? Reduce waste.
Reduce waste is minimal wastage of any waste. Reuse is which can be reused without cross infection. That should be reused. Recycle, like we wash some of the linen and things and we reuse them.
Oh,
And
what's the difference between reuse and recycle? Ma'am?
reuse and recycle. We
Yeah.
recycle.
Reuse, reuse is the one in the same form. And recycle is
Pardon?
different.
Pardon?
I said reuse is when we use it in a same similar form. And recycle is when we use it in some other form.
Very good.
In some other shape.
Correct. Okay, recover waste. You are absolutely right. Recover waste, can give you example? Okay, absolute perfect. Reduce waste, as madam said, it is to minimize the waste generation itself. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible by recycling or reuse. That is also possible. Okay, what is the difference between reuse and recycle? As madam, reuse is in the same form. For example, I use petri dish, I wash it, sterilize it, and again use the same thing. That is called reuse. Recycling is something, it is deformed, it is used in a different form. I dispose the syringe is made into bucket, and I use the bucket for something else. So that is called recycling. However, I'm not wasting that. I mean, not just disposing it as a waste. So that is recycle. Recover is to recover some of the costly things or heavy metals from the waste, which can be used again for some other purpose. For example, mercury, silver. I think in before radiological department we had this silver extracts, that is the liquid extracts, that they used to remove the silver. Now of course now we have gone to the digital, we're in the digital era, so that recovery is less, or somewhere we can recover some other heavy metals if possible. Mercury, if there is spill, we say recover the waste and utilize for something else. So these are the different principles which you must all remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
excuse me. This recover waste, we are talking about the medical waste only, or any kind of waste that we are coming in the
I'm
hospital, like
talking of medical only. I'm talking of medical only.
okay,
For example, you have a mercury spill. You can take
yeah,
the mercury, recover, and use it for something else, right? You can use it.
okay, okay.
Okay. So, coming to the best practice, waste management will be aimed to reduce as much as possible, to generate or recover as much as possible, rather than disposing of it by burning or burial. Burning or burial should be a last option, and it should be the option which you don't have any other option, then you are going for that. Okay. And as much as possible, not to produce the waste will be good, but that will not be feasible. And avoiding wasteful ways of working. So if you look at this WHO line of management of waste, we have different category. There are levels of methods of managing our waste. So first thing will be, there are three components. One we call it as green procurement. Second is resource development. Last is the end of pipe. So green procurement is a very preventive measure, where we look at preventing waste generation or reducing the waste generation, preventing the things happening only. So here we are looking at from the procurement stage only. We are buying things which are recyclable or which has a proper end for it. Okay, so that is called as green procurement. Reuse, recycle, recover, these are resource development. Here we have resource, we have already waste, as much as possible we'll try to get resource for this, and again use it for things, so that you're not just throwing it away. Finally, the last end of pipe and the biomedical waste management, we have what is called as treat and dispose. Treat basically to minimize the infection and reduce the quantity, and finally dispose is the final. So, in the line of management, we have treatment ahead of disposal. So, disposal is the last step. For example, can you anyone tell me incineration is a treatment or a disposal option?
It's a treatment.
What is the disposal option in that? You're right.
After getting it,
Incineration is a treatment. Yeah. After getting, we are getting ash. So we still
yeah,
have incineration ash, which that is disposed. So
disposed, yeah.
incineration is a treatment. Yeah.
Ma'am, could you please repeat this? Prevent and reduce.
Prevent and reduce. Okay.
Yeah,
Reduce is like, for example, you are. Can I give this example of reduce? For example, giving injections. You want a single use syringe. Instead of single use, you go for glass syringes, that will be the process of reduce.
Yes.
Or for a bandage also, if you can use smaller cotton, whatever is required, reduce it, that is reduce. Prevent is like prevent procurement of like plastic waste or something like that. For example, let me tell this, when in COVID, we have this ppe overalls, no, we could
Yeah.
choose they were coming up with economic friendly, because I think COVID saw us that there was 6 times more the plastic waste generated, and we have a huge challenge of disposal of those. So prevent as much as possible to use things which are do not have what to say, like do not have a proper final disposal options, or which is going to lead lot of toxic chemicals. Avoid such procurement or prevent wastage also. Your procurement process only can be very good, right? You do not
Okay.
sometimes in government it happens, they procure the medicines too much, hoard it in one place, but then they realize it's coming to the expiry, and then to hasten they will push somewhere, and finally it goes waste. So such things can be prevented. In fact, if they see earlier, they can siphon it out to places where it is required, so that you do not waste the drugs or vaccine. Fine.
Ma'am,
So that is clear.
as you said in the
Yeah.
reduce is example of syringe. Like what I think is there is a guideline of one needle, one syringe. So can we
Yeah,
put
that
the
is how
syringe
it's
in?
impacted. Madam, correct. That came, the one needle, one syringe is come in a wake of HIV. I agree on that. And
Yeah.
because of the thing, but when I think in the long run we do not know, as things go bad worst, I think we need to
Uh-huh.
seek a solution. Going back, some of the hospitals in fact have gone back to syringes. It's not wrong. I know
Okay.
it's a balance to be strike, where you want one
Mm-hmm.
needle, then you have an option of having more waste. How do we manage that is a real a challenge. And if you are using glass syringes and this thing, the challenge of again infections, provided you do not, if you have taken necessary measures, it's good, but that is again a questionable. So the risk benefit is definitely a question mark. In the wake of
Okay, ma'am.
HIV, it started and we are continuing. I wouldn't
Okay.
say this is right or wrong, but we have to take a call. In the
Okay.
future, we must see how it goes.
Fine.
So waste minimization is like source reduction itself. Have management and control measures at hospital level, so that you do not stock unnecessarily and go for wastage and expiry things. So source reductions like can be purchasing reduction, selecting supplies that are less wasteful. Smaller quantities can be used, and that can take purchase things which have less hazardous waste product, and use of physical rather than chemical cleaning methods. For example, steam disinfection is better than chemical disinfection, again because chemical disinfection will again affect the chemical quality of the wastewater, and prevent as much as possible for wastage of products in your nursing and cleaning activities. That it's a balance between how you do, because you need to have it clean and infection free also, at the same time how we use the products also.
Ma'am, here I have one question.
Yes.
In our hospital, we have been told daily to make sodium hypochlorite solution
Yeah.
and discard it by the end of the day.
Correct.
But
So
if we try to minimize this thing and how to discard it, we still don't have any clear guidelines ke how to discard the sodium hypochlorite solution directly into the drain or pre-treat it. We don't have any. Uh,
no, sodium hypochlorite solution by itself is a chemical disinfectant.
right,
So first thing is, you now know by experience, by a trial and error, you would know how much is required for your hospital. You will do
right,
it. Once it is disinfected, at the moment we are just draining into the sewer. Basically,
right,
it goes as dilution.
right.
Finally, at the end of your sewage treatment or water treatment plant, you need to see whether you need to neutralize it with your acid or alkali. Finally, for the disposal. That is all is.
But at present, it is not available with the government hospital any such solution of treating or pre-treating these sodium hypochlorite,
No,
which
no.
is
1% sodium hypochlorite solution itself is a chemical disinfectant.
it is chemical disinfect, but it is thrown directly into the drain at the end of the day. It is not pre-treated or neutralized or
It's not
anything.
required, not needed to pre-treat here. That's what it is. It goes at the end. That is the job of pollution control to keep a track of that. The final effluent, because you have your sodium hypochlorite, there could be some other chemicals which are coming from the other hospitals. Sometimes it gets neutralized by this within
Okay.
the thing. It's not
Okay.
just your sodium hypo. There are so many
Okay.
other chemicals adding on, right?
Okay.
And all those things are coming. It is the treatment, what to say, plant which should take care of it. It is probably engineer's role. We have
Right.
less role here too.
Right.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can we use this sodium hypochlorite in the water for this chlorine cleaner and all the things after some time, like rather than wasting it in the drain, because we are using it as a disinfectant only.
I didn't get you, ma'am.
I said ki rather than wasting it after some time, we can use it in the water itself as a disinfectant to clean the flooring and other areas of the patient area. Like we are doing such things in our hospital.
Yeah, you can use it. No, no. What madam is telling is already disinfected ones. You can
Acha.
use it. No.
Okay.
Uh. Now, centralized purchasing of hazardous chemicals so that you can keep a track of it. Monitoring of chemical use. Okay. Waste minimizing other components are like stock management, proper stock management. Use the old batch first. That is first in and first out principle you can follow. Use of all the contents of each container. Check the expiry date so that you do not let it go waste. And as I told, green procurement, purchasing the materials that have a definite and safe method of disposal. In fact, many times nowadays hospitals also look forward. You They have a contract also saying that after the use you will take it back for final disposal. For especially for drugs, we have this kind of things, right? Medications after expiry or something, they will take back and they will dispose according to their SOPs. So certain equipments or something like that, you can have a MOU saying that you can take it back also. So you can use a look at that's where your comes a recyclable products. Is it a recyclable product? Is it an energy efficient system if you are installing? And your technologies, what you are using are the clean technologies and fuels. And as much as possible, look for adopting ecologically responsible business practices and just not easy way out. As I was telling you, was balance between your requirement and ecology. That is a challenge which we all of us have. So reduce the use of products that has to reduce their toxicity to the environment and health. So as I told, if you look at our Environment Protection Act, the main goal or main aim of our EPA Act is to protect human health and environment. So whatever actions we take, whatever measures we take, finally we must see that is this action of mine or is this product of whatever it is it safe for human health or is it not going to affect the environment? That is the concern we need to have, because it's not just about me and you in just immediate way. We must look at environment in the long run, because we are going to soon destroy our environment if we are not conscious about this and start practicing in our daily life. So reuse and recycle examples like reuse glass slides, petri dishes. I think in our hospitals we use and reuse after proper disinfection protocols what we follow, and then recycling of non-hazardous component waste can be practiced. For example, we've seen no syringes we made buckets, boxes, or plastics have been used to make roads. Good, right? Instead of going somewhere waste, it's going as a roads. So those things can be looked at, but not all the waste have solutions. There are some real challenges still existing in waste management. So now if you look at, so this is the basic principles and basic line of management. What are the essentials for having a safe management of biomedical waste in our hospitals? One is having life cycle approach. Life cycle approach, I mean to say, is the waste what is generated at the point of generation till its final disposal, it should have clear pathway, and it should have a clear what to say, guidelines or approach how we manage it so that it doesn't affect anybody or the environment during the process. So from the generation till the thing, so that's where our bottom line for cycle will be our segregation. So if you segregate in the first place, maintaining that will be easier, and it should be continued till your final disposal option. And the most important thing is our attitude. attitude, it's not my job. I'll come to that little last, because this is the most tough thing. We always, it should come as a culture and a policy, not culture, a habit. I should say it's a habit. It's always like that. No, if nobody sees, we throw the waste somewhere else. It shouldn't have, it should come consciously that we should do it, and this culture should penetrate to everyone from the top to the bottom. And we need to have policy for different aspects, especially for the some of the critical ones, like your sharps, antibiotic policies, and blood bank, okay, or occupational sales of the policy. You can have different policies in keeping in mind how you can manage safe management. Then committees, as far as committee is concerned, you can have separate biomedical waste management committee, or you can have a, it's as a part of an hospital acquired infection, sorry, HICC committee. The rules also in our country permits either of it. You can have for every hospital which has more than 30 bedded hospital should have a committee, either as separate committee or as a part of hospital acquired hospital infection control committee. If it's a less than 30 bedded, you have to identify nodal officer who is responsible for all the waste management. And as standard operative procedures, especially for a bigger hospitals, we need to have SOPs, because this will give a direction for everyone to follow the procedures. SOPs to segregate, SOPs for hand washing, SOPs for collection, transportation, then use of PPE, everything. If you have SOPs, it's easy for you to educate the people, and also see to that if they are following. If they are not following, train them, retrain them, encourage them or punish them. See to that they follow it in the interest of themselves as well as the others around. Then records, it's important for us to keep a records to show that we are doing proper work. And also it's also mandated from the rules as well, that all the records related to biomedical waste should be kept for at least 5 years. And last but not the least is our training, because this is something which is, I think now it's been part of curriculum of all the curriculum, medical, nursing, everything. However, on job, it's our duty to keep training, retraining, reminding people whenever they are going wrong, so that they are on the track. So these are the broader concepts of essentials of safe management of biomedical waste. And I would just like to tell two important three principles which are there directly to waste management. We call what is called as polluters pay principle. This principle emphasizes that it is the responsibility of the producer of a waste, legally and financially, to see that the waste what is generated, to dispose it, handle it, dispose the waste such that it is environmentally sound. Okay, so this calls us, and this will alert us saying that, so if I am generating waste, so as a doctor or as a nurse, if I am generating waste, I am legally responsible. So under this principle, nobody can escape saying that my duty is only to treat patients, not the basement. So as a polluters pay principle, we as a generator of waste should be legally and financially responsible to manage our waste safely and environmentally sound. Okay, is this concept clear? Polluters pay principle. So this is why the reason why our hospital, which is handing over our waste to the common biomedical waste treatment facility, we pay them. So because on behalf of us, they are treating the waste and disposing the waste, okay, which otherwise we should have done. Now we are handing over that part to them. So sometimes, many times, we ask a question, we are giving them the waste to them, they are paying for them, why should we pay for them? So this is the principle which will answer your that question. Next principle is duty of care. What does this mean? This emphasizes that any person who is handling the hazardous waste should be ethically responsible to apply utmost care. It's responsible to see to that it takes all the precautionary measures to see that he is handling the waste with all precautions. That is duty of care principles. It owns his responsibility for himself. Next comes the proximity principle. Ideally, the waste should be generated as close to as possible to the generation of waste. Okay, this suggests that the treatment and disposal of hazardous waste should take place as close as possible to reduce the risk during transportation. So this is why even this proximity principle, we say segregation of waste should happen at the source of generation. So if I am saying I am doing a OT surgery on table, I should be able to easily dispose of my waste closer to my table. I shouldn't put it so far. I shouldn't put it into the kidney tray, and the kidney tray should be carried by the nurse and then disposed like that. So that kind of proximity principle we must apply everywhere. And more so for treatment and disposal, it should be as close as possible. And that is why here as close means you can't all have all the hospitals to have their own treatment and facilities next to their facility itself. That is the reason the government also has defined that within 75 kilometers radius you can dispose your waste, and that's why any city of which is there within 75-kilometer radius, we must hand over our waste. So that explains the proximity principle. And to support this, we have also at the international level, we have what is called as Basel Convention. I will talk to you a little later. Next is the precautionary principle. This is when when you know some say substance or some drugs or some, for example, we have COVID. What did we took? What did we do? COVID, we do not know the nature of its severity, threat. All we took at most precautions, didn't we? We took the full PPE, and almost initial phase of the COVID, everyone were in the full PPE. Well, that is fine. That is precautionary principle. When you do not know the depth of the serious damage which could cause, we need to adopt and to prevent the environment different use, and we do not have scientific capacity knowledge, you take all necessary precautionary principles. As the knowledge goes well, you can decide what measures you need to take. So we have any some new substance or new things which is coming up, you do not know what is its effect, you take as if it is like how we were doing standard precautions, wherein all cases we assume HIV and take all necessary precautions. Similarly, if you do not know the grievance or depth of it, better take all the required precautions to safeguard yourself and the environment. Next, prior informed consent principle is here. It is the duty of this is especially applicable for establishing the common treatment facilities. If they are establishing common treatment facilities, it is the duty of those facilities before starting their operations or the facilities. They need to take the consent from the communities and stakeholders, apprising them the hazards and risks involved, and then without that they will not get the license as well. Okay, that is called as prior informed consent. So these are some of the principles of waste management. Lastly, I would like to mention these two conventions which are related, directly related to biomedical waste. One is the Basel Convention, which regulates, this is like proximity. Initially what happened was the developed countries would dump their waste into the developing countries. So this convention was brought in that light. It prohibits the movement of hazardous waste and other waste to the across the borders, so that they have to generate their if they have generated waste, they have to scientifically dispose in their own countries. Stockholm Convention, as I was telling, this to reduce the elimination of dioxins and furans. Basically, there are 12 toxins which are listed, of which dioxins and furans which can come out of our medical waste, where there is plastics involved, syringes and all. If they are chlorinated, if they are burned, that can cause incomplete combustion, can lead on to emission of dioxins and furans. These are called as POPs, POPs, that is persistent organic pollutants. So that means persistent. They remain in the environment. They do not degrade. They will once generated. They are in the organic pollutants. They are, and what is generated here in Bangalore can be in America, or America generated dioxins can come to here. So they live for longer time and they can go across the borders. So that is one of the convention which looks at dioxins and furans. In fact, as part of that, we had a UNIDO project in our country also, which looked at reducing this dioxins and furans. To sum up, so we should have. I'll not go into the different methods components. I think in due course you will learn. We should have a good policies, SOPs, monitoring system. One more thing, important thing which I did mention is, apart from training, we need to have monitoring. Regular monitoring is very important. because without monitoring the system, whatever good systems you have can collapse. So periodic monitoring is very important. Giving feedback and correcting then and there is going to be the most crucial part. And next is the segregation. As I told, segregation is the heart of biomedical waste management system, and it should happen at the point of generation and it should continue throughout the life cycle. Then we have the disinfection. Wherever possible, disinfection or pre-treatment, what we call, should happen at the source of generation. So there are certain waste which needs to be pre-treated at the source, like your lab waste, blood bags, okay, before sending it to the CTF. And you should have a proper collection mechanism and transporting. Have a storage facility at your own healthcare facilities, and from storage it can be taken to the common treatment facilities where it will be finally treated and disposed. And again, in storage facility, no waste should be stored beyond 48 hours in our as per our rules. Bottom line, for all this process of biomedical waste system, it is important that we keep in mind our worker safety in the background, also the patient safety and environment safety. With this, it will be very comprehensive and we can manage our waste management system effectively. So with this, I'll conclude. I want to mention that our most important point should be our segregation at point of generation. As a waste generator, this should be our primary step, because CTF will take care of our treatment and process. Segregation and collection, transportation and storage is a part of our healthcare facility. So we have learned what is biomedical waste, nature of biomedical waste, principles and components of waste management system. I'll end with a story. There were four people, everybody, somebody, anybody, nobody. I think you all must know this story, know this story, but it's very apt for biomedical waste, I felt. There was an important job to be done. Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about it because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody would not do it. It ended at that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Thank you. So we must all keep in mind that we have a responsibility for ourselves as well as on the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Questions you have?
Thank you, ma'am.
If you have any questions directly, you can ask, or also put in chat box if you want.
Ma'am, how often should be the training and reinforcement training of the worker should be done?
Ma'am, one is induction training is one thing you must have
Right,
as
ma'am.
college.
That is there.
That is there. And at least once a year you can have a training or retraining. And also the rule says we need to have training, records of training. You may not able to cover everyone together. Keep a batches and have a program for that itself. I think it's a responsibility of the
Once a year is enough for the.
yeah, and you have a monitoring system in place which will look into their any deficiencies and correcting then and there. 6 months once or 1 year, it depends on your feasibility and number of workers you have. You can plan.
Okay, ma'am.
Sir, anything else? Any other question?
Learners, you can ask your question.
Yeah, ma'am, I am Dr. Robin this side.
Yes, yes, Robin.
Ma'am, I just want to know, like, the biomedical waste disposal, uh, who's the job? Like, it should be the government job or the, like, the we are seeing now the private agencies are handling. So
Yeah.
this is one of my concern always, because I'm a clinician and I see what is happening in the Delhi. Like, we are having clinic, the private players, they are just making money. They don't, as per the rule, like, within 24 hours the medical waste should be out of the clinic or hospital, but they are collecting only twice a week or once a week. That is happening on the
Okay.
ground.
Robin, to answer your question, it is first of all our job. Okay. We are generating waste, so we need to manage our waste. But the problem is we are not in a position to handle the waste. So that is the reason, yeah, this common biomedical waste facility people are coming to the road. Now the question is, should we pay? I have answered that question, because we are generating, we need to pay. But the point is, the challenge remains that CTF to come and collect every day will be a challenge. At least I think, if your quantum of waste is not very infectious waste should leave your premises within 48 hours. Okay, if it's needles, that can be just disinfected and kept. Maybe you can give it once a week or twice a week also, not a issue. But if it's your infectious waste which is going to be there, you can, because now I think you will be, it is linked in the pollution as per rules also. They, it's one of the mandated thing for you to get permission license also. So you have to be tagged on to one of the biomedical waste committee. You can insist them at least to come and collect twice, at least to
And
come
ma'am,
and collect twice.
yeah, ma'am.
You can insist them to come and collect at least twice a week, otherwise you're not going to pay, or you can complain to the
And
board.
one more thing what I have come across and was surprised to see, like there's no uniform charges in the for the biomedical collection. Like in the Delhi, if it's like 1,000, like I just 1,000 per month. I came to know it, like in the Rajasthan state, they are charging like 35,000 per yearly. Like that is around I think 2,500 or 3,000 roughly per month. If the agency will charge like that, then how they will motivate the people? Because if a practitioner is practicing in a rural area like a village, small village, and
I
a
think
clinician is,
I think
yeah.
this is the thing which I think health department and the pollution control board to come together and take a decision. I
When on the ground level, like NGT and all, they are playing good role. But at the ground level, when because all the things are outsourced now, and government is not ready to do itself, so that is happening on the ground.
That's fine. Outsourcing is fine, but that there should be a negotiation. Maybe through IMA you can represent and ask them to negotiate when they're not coming and collecting. You can ask them, and usually if it's a bedded hospital, they go by bed, charging the bed. But if
And
it's a
then second,
clinic, usually in I think Bangalore it is 500 or so. There
and
should
then
be
then se-
some.
and then secondly, if a clinician, if a doctor is practicing in a rural area in Rajasthan, and a doctor practicing in Jaipur or Kota or a major city, how can the charges should be same? They should be like
Yeah, I
that is
agree on
also,
that.
yeah.
I think that is a decision, policy decision the government has to take, because it's
But
regional and
but
I
ma'am, on the ground the things are missing. So I don't know. I always think like what we
think
should
these are
do.
all gaps and real
Yeah,
challenges. I think these are all loopholes which are there in the existing.
because everyone is like ठीक है चलने दो, but like it's like if we are if it's our duty to discard it, then it should be like a commitment toward the environment.
Chandra Babu sir is there. I think he can answer
Yes.
this question. He's from the Pollution Control Board. Sir,
Ma'am, what is
yeah,
yellow liquid
Yeah, thank
waste?
you, Dr. Lalita.
yes, sir.
And you see, if you refer to the rules, it is the responsibility of the generator to ensure that the waste generated is treated and disposed of by the available the facilities. If no facility is there, it is the responsibility of the generator only to ensure that that waste is treated on site and disposed of. Now, when it comes to the charges is concerned, the charges can be decided by the your advisory committee to be constituted by the government of the state government. That the committee can examine the rates charged the levied by the COMFEST for treatment and disposal of biomedical waste, and annually they can review it and revise it, and they can suggest the charges that can be implemented by the state government through the COMFEST operators. Conference operator cannot take its own decision, but he may submit the proposal to the advisory committee at the state level, constituted by the state government. They will take a decision depending upon the price index and all. If at all any rates has to be changed or revised, the advisory committee will suggest the government how much charges can be levied by the conference operator for the generators. But at any cost, whether the facility is available or not, it's the responsibility of the hospitals or generators to ensure that the generator biomedical waste treated and disposed of.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am, what is this new? We have got this to give a yellow waste, liquid waste management.
No, yellow liquid waste because it is. probably infectious. It's given yellow category. That's it. It doesn't mean it has to go into yellow cover. Yellow
No,
states. Where is it, ma'am? That
no, 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 no. We have received an order to show that how we are taking care of our yellow waste, liquid waste management.
that's what, ma'am. Yellow waste means liquid waste. How are you managing your liquid waste? Is the question. Especially the waste which is coming from lab, labor ward. These are considered to be highly infectious waste. How are you managing at your hospital? Is the question.
Okay, ma'am. Just only that, na?
That's
Nothing.
it. That's it. That's it. Yellow means not literal color. It means to specify that it's infectious. Thank you so much. Thank you for participants also were very active. Thank you so much. I think now Chandrababu sir will tell from his point of view the rules part.
Can I upload my PPT, please? Near prepare. Yeah, is my presentation is audible? The visible?
Yeah, visible, sir.
Yeah. Good evening to everybody. Myself, J. Chandrababu. Earlier, I was in CPCB Delhi office. When I was in CPCB Delhi office, I am the person involved in framing of these rules. Presently, I am working as a research director, Central Pollution Board, Bangalore office. Yeah, Madam, Dr. Lalita has given the overview of the rules. What are the impacts of waste generated from, what are the types of waste generated from hospitals? What type of impact that will cause if it is not disposed of? What measures to be taken? How it has to be disposed of? In the overall, Madam has covered all the subject. Coming back to my topic is concerned biomedical waste management rules 2016, and I'm going to give the salient features of the rules. Okay, come to that, the biomedical waste generation is concerned. As per the annual report submitted by all the states in the country, there are about 3,52,000 healthcare facilities generating about 774 tons per day of biomedical waste. Out of this, 708 tons of waste is collected, treated, and disposed of through captive facilities, about 17,206, as well as the common biomedical waste treatment facilities. There are about 208 common facilities which are in operation as on date, and 33 facilities are going to come up. Apart from this, there are armed force healthcare establishments. There are about 768 armed forces healthcare establishments generating about 5.45 tons per day of biomedical waste. Out of this, 2.33 tons per day of waste is treated and disposed of by captive treatment facilities, and 3.12 tons per day of biomedical waste is generated by the armed forces healthcare establishments disposed of through common facilities which are located nearby. As already told by Dr. Lalita, hospital is a source of waste generation, which may be a type of waste, may be infectious waste or biomedical waste, municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, used electronics batteries, electrical and electronic waste, plastic waste, radioactive waste, liquid waste, emissions from the steam boilers, digesters, captive incinerators, etc. Therefore, if you take any industry, I'll be knowing what are my raw materials and what is my product and what the type of waste generated. It is a specific in nature. Because product manufactured is one or two maximum, therefore the waste is also of the same type in nature. Whereas when it comes to the hospital, hospital is not the simple the generating waste sector. The hospital generates most of all site of waste. Therefore, hospital they will not come under not only under the purview of biomedical waste rules, it also falls under the most of the rules notified under the environmental protection rules. What are the rules are? We have Water Act 1974, and also we have Air Act 1981, and we call it as Environmental Protection Act 1986. It is called Umbrella Act. Apart from this, we have Public Liability Insurance Act, Manufacture, Storage, Import of Hazardous Chemicals Rules, 1989. Hazardous rules were initially notified in the year 1989. Now they were replaced with hazardous and other waste management and transponder rules, 2016. Chemical accident rule, the rules were there. Apart from this, the biometric waste rules, of course, we have biometric waste rules in the year 1998. Now presently they are replaced with biometric waste management rules, 2016. Plastic waste management rules were there in 1999, and they are also replaced with the plastic waste management rules 2022. Municipal solid waste management rules were there earlier in 2000. Now they are also replaced with the latest municipal solid waste rules 2016. Noise regulations are there. Batteries management handling rules are there. E-notification, e-waste management rules and all. They're all rules falling under the purview of the Environmental Protection Act. Therefore, hospital has to manage or dispose the waste, generated waste, in compliance to all these rules. Not only the biometric waste, other waste has to be disposed of in line with the notified rules under the Environmental Protection Act. What are the rules I have stated, which are applicable to the hospitals? Coming to the today's topic is concerned, biometric waste rules are notified in the year 2016, earlier 1999, 1998 were there, now they are replaced with the 2016 rules. These rules contains generally 18 provisions, very, very simple in nature. These rules contains only 18 provisions, 4 schedules and 5 forms only. Very simple rules, but very complicated rules. But one should understand clearly what the rules, and in line with the rules, what actions I have to take so that I can comply to the rules. Otherwise, the actions will be taken against generators, or that means the hospitals. And these rules came into force from 28th March 2016 onwards. The earlier rules were there, which were notified in the year 1999, and they were there till 2016. From 28th March 2016, these biometric waste management rules were notified, and these came into force from 20th March 2016 onwards. Before going to what already Madam has told, applicability of these rules, for whom these rules are applicable, just read carefully. The rule says these rules shall apply to all persons. Don't be under the impression that the rules are applicable to my hospital. No. The rules shall apply to all persons who generate, collect, receive, store, transport, treat, dispose, or handle biometric waste in any form, including these hospitals, whatever Madam has already told. Means this is very, very important rule number 2. These rules are applicable to all persons who generate biometric waste. Therefore, you should not be under the impression that I am not a generator, only my hospital is a generator. No, all staff will all fall under the purview of biometric waste rules. That means you are required to ensure compliance to the rules, failing which action can be taken by the regulatory authorities on individual persons also, not only on your hospital, against individual officials also, action can be taken by the regulatory authorities, definitely. And as I already told, hospital is a generator of most of the waste, and there are different rules were notified under the Environmental Protection Act, which we call it as Umbrella Act. Therefore, whatever the waste is generated, that particular waste has to be disposed of in line with the various respective rules notified under the Environmental Protection. These are the various rules notified under the Environmental Protection Act, which you have to go into detail individually in order to know the details about individual rules. Coming to the authorization, I am not going to tell each and every definition. Talking about the rules is a very difficult task compared to other subjects, as stated by my earlier speaker. But talking about rules is very difficult, and I cannot tell all in each and every definition, but very important, which are relevant to you and which you require to know. Such definition I will tell you. Authorization means nothing but permission granted by the prescribed authority. Authorization is nothing but the permission granted by the prescribed authority is nothing but State Pollution Control Board or pollution control committees. For the purpose, what purpose the permission they are given is for the purpose of generation, collection, reception, storage, transportation, treatment, processing, disposal, or any other form of handling of biometric waste. Therefore, you have to obtain permission by all the generators have to obtain permission for the purpose of generation, collection, reception, storage, transportation, treatment, and disposal. Therefore, permission is a must before you start off any healthcare facility. Without this, no action can be taken, no activity can be initiated by the hospital. Otherwise, action can be taken by the state boards, definitely. And what do you mean by biomedical waste? Anybody can say, please? Biomedical waste means? Anybody can say what do you mean by biomedical waste?
The waste that has got some human or some element in it,
Yeah,
living element, waste product with it.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Like
that is the way you understood, responded. At least whatever you know, you have responded. I must thank you for that. But you remember one word. You see, when you want to understand anything, definition is very important. You have to understand definition. With that, we have to take a decision. Therefore, you have to understand what is the definition of biomedical waste. If I tell you all, please kindly note one word called dirts. 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 Have noted everybody? Dirts. DIRTS. Now I will tell you definition of biomedical waste easily. Biomedical waste means any waste which is generated during the diagnosis. D for diagnosis. Okay, remember? D for diagnosis. And any waste generated during immunization of human beings or animals. I for immunization of human beings or animals. Then third letter is R. Any waste generated from research activities. And fourth word, the letter is T. T means treatment of human beings or animals. And the final word, the letter is S. S is nothing but waste prescribed under Schedule 1 of the biomedical waste laws. Now, easily anybody can tell if you remember this word dirts. Now, anybody can define what is biomedical waste means. Any waste generated in the process of diagnosis or immunization of human beings or animals, or waste generated in the research activities pertaining to the development of medicines or treatment of any what are the process related to healthcare sector. And T is waste generated in the process of treatment of human beings or animals. And S, waste as prescribed under Schedule 1 of the rules. Whatever the waste is listed under Schedule 1, that waste is called as biomedical waste only. Other waste cannot be called as biomedical waste. Simple example I will tell you. As per definition, any waste generated during the diagnosis or immunization of human beings or research activities or treatment of human beings or animals or waste referred under Schedule 1 of the rules. That's all. Now, I will give one example. Any animal which is going on the street, some animal going on the street died immediately. We don't know what for reason, what reason. Some animal is there which met with an accident. In the process, at the veterinary hospital, doctor decided to the curtail an animal's leg. Now, if you go by definition, which will fall under the purview of the biomedical waste rules? If you go by definition, any waste generated in the process of treatment of human beings or animals that fall under the one category of waste. That means, in the process of treatment of any human being or animals, any waste is generated that can be called as biomedical waste. Now, any amputated leg of an animal in the veterinary hospital, that will fall under the purview of the biomedical waste. Any animal dead on the street cannot be considered as biomedical waste. This is a simple example I'll tell you. Therefore, you have to understand the definition and you have to take a decision which one is biomedical waste, whether it falls in the purview of biomedical waste or not, based on the biomedical waste definition or not. Then you can take a decision easily. Therefore, that's why I told you, I request you all to remember one word called dirts. Therefore, then you can immediately say what the definition of biomedical waste is. Nothing but waste generated in the process of dialysis or immunization of human beings or animals or treatment of human beings or animals or research activities or waste referred to Schedule 1. Similarly, we'll go for some other the facilities, biomedical waste treatment and disposal. Means any facility wherein treatment, disposal of biomedical waste is carried out. And one more is healthcare facility. Of course, these are all known to you. Then who is the prescribing authority? In the states, we have prescribing authority called as state pollution control boards. In the case of state, a state who is the prescribing authority is called as state pollution control board. In our country, we got the states are there. In all the most of the states, we have state pollution control boards. Similarly, in UTs, Union Territories, we have pollution control committees. Therefore, in Union Territories, who are the pollution, the prescribed authorities, pollution control committee. These are some of the definitions. I am not going to touch all others. Now, one more important word is occupier. Who is occupier? If you go with definition, so much definition is there. In a simple language, generator. Occupier is nothing but a generator of biomedical waste. Therefore, occupier is nothing but generator of biomedical waste. Who is the generator of biomedical waste in the hospitals? All persons. Therefore, all the staff are also generators in the hospitals. Therefore, you are also a generator. Any staff working in the hospital is also a generator, involved in the treatment of patient or any activity as defined in the rules will fall under the purview of the occupier. Similarly, a person who treats or owns a facility, controls over the treatment facility and involved in collection, reception, treatment, disposal of waste can be called as operator of a common biomedical waste treatment facility. That means any waste is disposed of to any third party who is having its own facilities for collection, transportation, treatment, and disposal. That can be called as common facility operator. And one more word is there which is not defined in this, of course, on-site treatment facility. On-site means any facility allowed within the hospital can be called as the on-site treatment facility. The way we are defining common biomedical waste treatment facility, that is the common operator, whereas captive facility also will be there. Means on-site treatment facility can be there as a part of hospital. That is called as captive treatment facility generally. Then what are the duties of the occupier? Means what are the duties of a generator? Now, under rule 4, it says to take all necessary steps as per biomedical rules. Very difficult. You see, necessary steps is very dangerous word in the rules part. Legally, it is very dangerous word. Necessary steps means, is it defined? Yes. Now, in the existing rules, necessary steps has been defined properly. What are the necessary steps? Segregation of waste, biomedical waste as source. Now, the question comes, who has to segregate biomedical waste in my hospital? I already told all the staff will follow the purview of generator. You are a part of hospital and any staff involved in treatment of patients also follow the purview of generator because you are treating the patients in the process, you are generating waste. Therefore, hospital staff is also a generator or occupier. Therefore, it is your responsibility to ensure that waste is segregated at source. As per Schedule 1. What is the Schedule 1? I will tell you. Therefore, waste has to be segregated at source itself, at source of generation. The generated biomedical waste has to be segregated. Then, next one is no secondary handling. Once waste is segregated and put into the respective colored coded bags, you cannot go for removal or transferring from one bag to other one. No secondary handling at all. It is not allowed. And some type of waste is there. Laboratory waste, then microbiological waste, blood samples, and blood bags. All these 4 types of waste generated within the hospital has to be pre-treated. You have to pre-treat this laboratory waste, microbiology waste, blood samples, and blood bags by on-site treatment facility in line with the WHO guidelines for further disposal. Therefore, you have to go for pre-treatment of laboratory, microbiology waste, blood samples, and blood bags on source only, at source only, on-site or at source immediately as per WHO guideline. That is the responsibility of the hospital. And this waste has to be disposed of after pre-treatment. This waste has to be disposed of in the color-coded bag, generally as a yellow color waste, and it will go for further incineration only. Then phase out use of chlorinated plastic bags. Of course, you should not use chlorinated plastic bags, but of course, excluding these blood bags, urine bags, expelling bags, abdominal bags, and chest drainage bags can be used chlorinated plastic bags. All other the bags has to be used. You have to phase out chlorinated plastic bags. You cannot use it, except these blood bags, urine bags, effluent bags, etc. can be used chlorinated, but other bags cannot be used for the purpose of the chlorinated plastic bags. That has to be phased out by 27th March 2019. Of course, I hope all the hospitals would have been implemented this particular aspect. To provide training to all the healthcare staff at the time of induction. Any new staff is coming to hospital, then hospital management has to provide training regarding the biomedical rules, and also thereafter at least once in a year, definitely. And records has to be maintained properly. It is the responsibility of the hospital to maintain the records, definitely. Immunize all the healthcare workers. The hospital authority has to immunize all his healthcare workers against the various diseases as per nation, the NIP or Ministry of Health and Family Welfare guidelines. Establish a barcode system for bags or containers as per CPG guidelines. Why there is a barcode system? In case if there is a illegal activity, if there is a barcode for the bags, then you can trace out who is the generator. You can trace out with the generator from which place, from which hospital the waste has been disposed, generated, that can be traced out. Therefore, every bag should have a barcode system. Only that barcoded bags only should be used for the purpose of collection of different types of waste at different rows. Ensure segregation and pre-treatment of liquid chemical waste. I think one of madam is asking for liquid chemical waste. Liquid chemical waste. Therefore, depending upon the chemical nature of the waste, you have to go for treatment, on-site treatment. It has to be treated. Then only that waste has to be disposed of through the disposal option given under the rules. You cannot dispose as you wish. It has to be pre-treated. That has to be pre-treated liquid waste has to be disposed of in line with the permission granted by the state boards. Ensure occupational safety of healthcare workers by providing PPEs. Therefore, all the healthcare workers should be given personal protective equipment. Without PPEs, you should not handle any biomedical waste. Conduct healthcare checks. The hospital has to conduct healthcare checks for all the healthcare workers at the time of induction and at least once in a year. Existing incinerators shall have to achieve the standards as specified in Schedule 2. Of course, Madam has already told about dashing furans emissions. Therefore, any captive incinerators are there, they have to complete the dashing furan standards, and within 2 years they should have complied it. Of course, already time is over, they should have complied it. Report major accidents. If at all any major accidents have happened within your healthcare facility, then that has to be informed to state boards as per the Form 1. There is a Form 1 called accident report occurs. That Form 1 has to be filled and submitted to state board. What action, what is the type of fire accident occurred, and what action you have taken, how many casualties, and what measures you have taken to avoid casualties, and that you have to inform to state boards definitely. Maintain, register, and update records on day-to-day basis. And also, all bedded healthcare facilities should have own website and make available the annual reports on website. Therefore, all bedded healthcare worker, the facility should have own website, and all annual report has to be placed uploaded in websites. Inform SPCB or PCS immediately in case the COM facility does not collect the biomedical waste within the intended time. Therefore, generally the hospital waste cannot be stored more than 48 hours. Of course, there is some particular the category of waste is there. I will tell you definitely. This waste cannot be stored more than 48 hours. That waste has to be collected by the COM facility operator or disposed of within 48 hours. Otherwise, you have to, if COM facility operator is not collecting the waste from the healthcare facility, then you have to intimate to the state board that so-and-so COM facility operator who is supposed to collect as per agreement, not collected my waste from my hospital, and he has not collected, then the action will be taken by the state boards against the COM facility operator. But you have to bring it to the notice of the state board that so-and-so COM facility operator, as per the agreement, not collected my waste on day-to-day basis, and that intimation should be given by you definitely, and records you should keep it. Maintain all records pertaining to the treatment of waste or on-site treatment of waste, everything, at least for a period of next 5 years. You cannot throw. The record of today's record has to be maintained for till next 5 years. You have to keep it with you. As and when requested by the state boards or regulatory authorities, you have to show that the records. Review and monitor the biomedical activities through existing committees. You have to constitute a committee. By the hospital has to constitute a committee, and this committee should meet once in every 6 months, and that maintain the minutes of the meeting and review the status of action taken by the hospital for biomedical waste management within the hospital, and the records to be maintained, and it should be submitted along with the annual report to the state protection board. Healthcare facility having less than 30 number of beds shall designate a qualified person to review and monitor the activities related to hospitals. That is the responsibilities of the duties of the occupier or generator. Coming back to the operator of a COM facility. Operator of a COM facility, who is this operator of a COM facility? Is nothing but it is a third party involved in collection, reception, storage, treatment, and disposal of generated waste on behalf of you at his facility. What is his duties? More or less, the rules are same for both generator and occupier. Here, as a responsibility of the COM facility operator, they have to ensure timely collection of biomedical waste. Therefore, rule says timely collection of biometric waste by the operator from the healthcare facility, for which he is paying, levying the charges, paying the charges to the conflict operator, therefore, including on holidays. No holidays for conflict operator. They have to collect and take the waste on daily basis. You cannot ignore collection of waste from your hospital if you are a member of the conflict. Establish a barcode system and GPS for handling of armed waste in accordance with the CPC guidelines by
Sir, good
Rule 7
afternoon,
Master.
Mr. Babu. Your voice is echoing, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Hello?
Are you having two devices on?
Madam, I don't know. Today,
There is an
hello?
echo coming. I don't know. अभी तक ठीक था. Just now the echo has started.
Echo started.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
No.
But now I think the voice is clear now, madam.
Voice is clear now?
Okay.
Now it is clear. Now it is
Okay,
clear.
then. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
previously it was also clear.
Yeah. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the conflict, the healthcare facility. In case if waste is not collected by the conflict operator, then you have to inform the state board. Of course, the inform SPCB immediately when the occupier is not collecting waste or handing over the segregated waste. The occupier also, the conflict operator also can complain against the healthcare facility in case if you are not giving the segregated waste to him. He can complain against the hospital that hospital, so hospital, is not giving any the segregated waste. If you are not segregating waste and handing over that waste, he may complain against you also. To provide training to all the healthcare workers at the time of induction, of course, more or less same. There's no much difference, but it is the responsibility of the occupier to collect all the waste and daily basis, and he has to ensure treatment disposal. So most of the things are more or less same, except the collection of waste daily from your place. Of course, he also can give some sort of the bags to you, and he can ensure that the chlorinated plastic bags are not used for the purpose of collection of waste or segregation of waste by the hospitals. Authorities are there. The responsibilities of the various authorities like state control boards, Ministry of Environment and Forest, Director General of the Ministry of Defense, CPCB. We have got various responses have been given by the given under Schedule 3 that I will show separately, please. And what is the important is Rule 7 talks about treatment and disposal. Biometric waste shall be treated and disposed of by all the healthcare facilities or facility in accordance with Schedule 1. What is the Schedule 1? I will show you. But as per the type of waste category, and there's some sort of treatment method has been suggested, that method has to be followed and that waste has to be treated and disposed of. The occupier shall hand over only segregated waste as per Schedule 1 only. You cannot dispose of as you wish. No occupier shall establish on-site treatment and disposal facility if a service of a facility is available at 70 kilometers. Means healthcare facility cannot have their own captive treatment facility. In case if any facility is available at a distance of 75 kilometers, then the facility, then only that waste has to be disposed of only through that facility which is located within 75 kilometers. Otherwise, in case if no facility is available within a distance of 70 kilometers, then the healthcare facility can have its own captive treatment facility. Then you can have your own the captive treatment facility. Then you can ensure treatment disposal of waste and ensure to complete the rules. It is allowed. In case where a facility is not available, then occupier shall set up captive treatment facility. That is already told. Any person or occupier or operator facility intend to use new technologies. If you want to use any other new technology other than referred under Schedule 1, then for that, you have to apply your proposal for obtaining the permission and to prescribe the standards to the Ministry of Environment and Forest. You have to apply your proposals to the central government. The central government will consider your proposal. They will examine. They lay down the standards. Out of notification standards only, you can use that new technology, which are other than the technologies referred under Schedule 1 of the rules. Every occupier, the operator of the conference shall set up requisite biometric waste treatment equipment prior to commencement of operation. You see, you cannot have the equipment. Without equipment, you cannot start. Therefore, requisite conflict treatment equipment should be there. Then only that person can operator, the waste can be treated and disposed of. Of course, every occupier shall phase out use of chlorinated plastics. Plastic bags has to be phased out. That I told you already. Now, 50 microns is not allowed. It should be 120 microns now. As per the latest plastic waste management rules, 2022, you cannot use any bags lesser than 50 microns. Now it is 120 microns bags, thickness bags only you have to use for the purpose of segregation of waste. And that bags should not be chlorinated plastic bags. Now, after ensuring treatment followed by mutilation or shedding, only treated waste has to be disposed of for the purpose of through registered recyclers. Suppose any waste is treated like the syringes containing the plastic portion, if you have treated on site using autoclave or microwave, that waste can be disposed of through registered recyclers only. You cannot give it to any unauthorized persons. It has to be disposed of only through registered recyclers only. And in disposal of all the mercury waste and lead waste shall be in accordance with the respective rules. Of course, mercury waste, of course, is the source of waste. Mercury waste is generally thermometers and BP operators or mercury-based BP operators earlier, which used to be used by all the hospitals. Now, most of the hospitals, I feel, might have shifted to the digital thermometers and digital BP operators. Therefore, there may not be any possibility of generation of mercury waste by the hospitals. Therefore, in case if there is mercury waste generation by the hospitals, then that waste should be treated as hazardous waste, and that mercury waste has to be disposed of in accordance with the hazardous waste rules only. Similarly, battery waste has to be disposed of in accordance with the battery waste management and handling rules only. You cannot dispose of as you wish. Then what is the segregation? Packaging, transportation. How it has to be segregated? No untreated biological waste shall be mixed with other waste. You cannot mix up with one type of waste with other waste, like municipal solid waste, other waste, or the biological waste. You cannot mix up. The waste has to be segregated in accordance with the respective rules. Especially the biological waste has to be segregated at source only, as per the color code given by the rules. And where it has to be segregated at the point of generation only. You have to segregate the biological waste at the point of generation of waste, at the source of generation, in accordance with the color coded given into the rules. And every color coded containers or bags shall be labeled as per biohazard symbol. If you see, this is biohazard symbol, and the other one refers to C, it refers to cytotoxic drugs. What is the biohazard symbol? Anybody can say, please, what is the biohazard symbol? Any meaning is there? Now I am saying C is for cytotoxic drugs. Anybody can guess what is this biohazard symbol? Anybody can say, please? Am I audible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Biohazard symbol is, see, C is said cytotoxic drugs. We can use it, you can put it on the container or bag, this label, if it is a cytotoxic drugs. Okay, yellow color bag has to be used for the cytotoxic drugs. Then this C can be used. For all the biological waste, we put this biohazard symbol. What is the meaning of this biohazard symbol?
Sir, to alert the people like this is a something like we need to be
So what
alert.
you guess is correct. It is a universal symbol used for the purpose of segregation of waste. It indicates by seeing that symbol, it is biohazard, means it is something wrong with that waste. Therefore, it is high. It gives alert. It gives alert to all the public also. Therefore, biohazard symbol has to be placed on all the plastic bags or containers where you are putting the biological waste. In case of cytotoxic waste, you are going to put that waste in a yellow color bag, but for that only cytotoxic C symbol has to be placed. And barcode is a must. And along with the barcode, all the transporting vehicles, especially waste transported by any vehicle, should be fitted with GPS. It is a must by all the confidential operator as well as the occupier. And the confidential operator should transport the biological waste from the premise of an occupier to any offsite biological waste only in the vehicles having label. Without label, that vehicle cannot be used for the purpose of transportation of waste. Therefore, whenever the vehicle comes to the hospital, ensure that the transported vehicle is having a GPS and also it is labeled with the biohazard symbol as well as cytotoxic drugs and necessary precautions for handling of biological waste. Otherwise, don't hand over the waste. And vehicle should have the license and also authorization from the state board, definitely, and it is registered vehicle. Not without registered vehicles, you should not allow to hand over the waste. Otherwise, you refuse to hand over the waste. And this is the one type of waste required to be disposed of, cannot be stored more than 48 hours. What is that waste is? Untreated human and animal anatomical waste cannot be stored more than 48 hours. Soil waste is any cotton soaked with blood or infected blood, that is called as soil waste, that cannot be stored more than 48 hours. And biotechnology waste. Therefore, these four categories of waste cannot be stored more than 48 hours. Other waste, then you may ask me, sir, other waste can I store? If it is not, these four categories of waste are highly infectious. Therefore, this waste cannot be stored more than 48 hours. In case, if there is a possibility that waste has to be stored more than 48 hours, then you have to bring it to the notice of state board that so-and-so waste, these 4 categories of waste, I'm not in a position to dispose of because of so-and-so reasons, and I had to store more than 48 hours, kindly allow me, and that intimation should be given to the state pollution control boards, and you have to take necessary measures to store such waste so that it is not going to cause any harm or not going to cause any spread of diseases. That is your responsibility as a generator. Then microbiology waste and other waste, clinical laboratory waste, I told you that has to be pre-treated by sterilization. Now, the sterilization has to be complied with log 6 or by disinfection, log 4. Anybody can say, what do you mean by log 6? Because we are all from medical background. Can you please tell me what do you mean by the effectiveness of sterilization, log 6, whereas the effectiveness of disinfection is log 4. Anybody can say what is log 6 and log 4? Anybody can guess, please? Anybody can guess, please? What do you mean by log 6? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, anybody can guess, please. You see, don't, even if you are mistaken, no, don't worry about it. Don't feel shyness. You have to speak to me. I'm trying to see that whether you are hearing my lecture or not. That's why I'm questioning you.
As much I understand, like here already is mentioned that disinfection log 4. So it is already
disinfection log 4, sterilization log 6. This is the
that means it is already
efficacy of this sterilization log should be log 6. Efficacy of disinfection should be log 4. What do you mean by log 6?
Sir, in sterilization, we kills the spores.
See, if you ask me, when compared with the disinfection, sterilization is the best technology.
Yes,
okay?
Sir. Yes, sir.
The effectiveness of sterilization is far better than disinfection. Now, what do you mean by log 4 and what do you mean by log 6? Simple question. Okay, please note down log 6 is equal to 1 divided by 10 power 6. Log 6 is nothing but 1 divided by 10 power 6. Out of 10 lakh spores, 1 spore is allowed. That is the effectiveness of sterilization. Log 4 is nothing but, log 4 is equal to 1 divided by 10 power 4 means 1 by 10,000. Out of 10,000 spores, 1 spore will be alive. Therefore, which is more effective?
So
log 6.
log 6 is more
effective than the disinfection. Log 6 is nothing but 1 over 1 divided by 10 power 6, whereas log 4 is nothing but 1 divided by 10 4. Okay, simple way to understand. Okay, then. Now proceed to next rule number 9, which talks about prescribe authority. In states, I told you already, in states, the prescribe authority is the State Pollution Control Board. In union territories, it is Pollution Control Committee. Therefore, if you go to any UT, you'll find only the Pollution Control Committee. If you go to Lakshadweep, there the regulator, the prescribe authorities, Lakshadweep Pollution Control Committee. If you go to Andaman, Nicobar Islands, there Andaman Nicobar Pollution Control Committee will be there. If you go to any state like Karnataka, there the prescribe authorities for management of bound waste, Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. If you go to Andhra Pradesh, there will be Andhra Pradesh State Pollution Control Board. Therefore, in states we call it as the State Pollution Control Board. In UT we call it as Pollution Control Committee. Whereas Armed Forces Healthcare Establishment is concerned, Director General Armed Forces Medical Services is the prescribe authority. And these are the prescribe authorities shall comply with the responsibilities as stipulated under Schedule 3 of the rules. Okay, they are the prescribe authority that ensure compliance to the rules by in the respective states. Then I told you authorization. The definition, I have told you one definition called occupier, means generator, which includes all healthcare workers and hospitals. They are all called as a generator. Now authorization, I told you what is the authorization is. Permission for what purpose? Permission for collection, for generation, correction, transportation, treatment, disposal, or handling of bound waste in any form. Therefore, for which you have to obtain permission, from whom you have to get permission by the hospital or company operator. They have to obtain permission from the State Pollution Control Board in the respective state. They have to submit the application form to the state board. State board will give permission in form 3 with a validity of certain days in line with the consent, the validity they give generally, and within 90 days they have to grant permission for you for generation, collection, treatment, storage, and disposal of biomedical waste. Otherwise, within 90 days, if you don't give permission for you or authorization for you, then you are deemed to be authorized. Therefore, if they don't, if you submit your application within 90 days, the state board is not giving any permission to you or authorization to you, then the healthcare facility has been deemed to be authorized. Within 90 days, if they don't give, then authorization has been obtained by the state board automatically, by the hospital automatically. Okay, and generally, authorization required for all the bedded hospitals, whereas in case of non-bedded hospitals, they have to obtain one-time permission. They have to obtain one-time permission only by the non-bedded hospitals. And in case of, in case the state board is not granting any authorization, then the state board has to give reasons what for they are not giving the authorization. In case if they want to cancel their authorization, then they have to give reasons, and that hear the healthcare facility that heard him, then the reason has to be quoted, then only they can take action against healthcare facility. Otherwise, they cannot quote. Please call me after 5 minutes, please. And every complaint, then one more thing is, in case application submitted by the hospital is complete application, within 90 days, the application has to be processed and they have to issue the authorization. Otherwise, I already told you that hospital has been deemed to be authorized automatically. Then no necessity to obtain any permission from him. Your application date is more than sufficient. They are not responded within 90 days, means you are deemed to be authorized. And all bedded hospitals that obtain authorization, whereas in case of non-bedded hospitals, as long as there is no change in the activity, that one-time permission is required. If there is a change in the activity, then we have to submit the application form to and obtain the conditions amended in the authorization. That is a must for you in case of non-bedded hospitals. Then I told you, every state has to constitute advisory committee. This advisory committee has to the comprising of various departments within the state. They represent from IMA, conflict operator, NGO, Department of Health. Advisory committee shall be constituted by all the state governments. I hope so. The advisory committee has been constituted by all the states and the chairmanship of respective health secretary. And this advisory committee will take actions for management of biomedical waste in the respective states. In case of defense, Ministry of Defense is concerned, Ministry of Defense has to constitute advisory committee comprising of chairman of the advisory committee as DGFMS, and other members will be Ministry of Defense, MOF, CPCB, Ministry of Health and Family Affairs, Armed Forces Medical Service, or any hospital will be there of the command hospital only. This advisory committee has to be shall meet at least once in 6 months, and they have to review all matters related to implementation of rules in the respective state and advise the government for taking further necessary actions. And rule number 12 is concerned, monitoring of implementation of the rules are concerned. Ministry of Environment and Forest, they had to review the implementation of the rule status once in a year with all the states. Once a year at least they have to have a dialogue with all the states, what are the states have implemented the rules. CPCB is the authorized to go for monitoring of biomedical waste rules, implementation status of biomedical rules in armed forces, healthcare establishments under the Ministry of Defense. Therefore, state boards cannot go and verify in army hospitals. Only CPCB can go, and there we are authorized to go for inspections and will verify, and rules will be verified, and whether they are compliant rules or not, action will be initiated by CPCB only, not by the state police control boards. States police control board are not allowed to go for army hospitals. Only within the general hospitals, government hospitals, they can go, but not the army hospitals. Army hospital is concerned, only CPCB can go and take actions against them. And every state government also has to constitute the district level monitoring committee. This district level monitoring committee under the chairmanship of district collector, and this district collector has to review the implementation of the rules within the district level. Of course, district level monitoring committee will have district medical officer as member secretary, representative from SPC, PCC, public health department, local bodies, all will be there as a part of the committee, and they have to advise the district level monitoring committee, and in turn they have to submit a report to the state board and state government. Annual report submission is concerned, Rule 13, it talks about submission of annual reports. Therefore, all SPCBs, every occupier, means every generator and every operator capacity, they have to submit the annual report to the state police control board in Form 4 by 30th of June every year. Subsequently, state police control board has to compile this information, and this compiled information they will submit in Form 4A to CPCB by 31st of July every year to CPCB. Therefore, unless generator or operator capacity submit the annual report information to state board, state boards will not be able to submit this information to CPCB by 31st of July. Therefore, you have to ensure submission of your information by 30th June, In turn, SPCB will compile the information, they will submit the information to CPCB, and CPCB also has to submit this information to MOEF and CPCB by 31st of August every year. Therefore, if generator is not complying, state boards will not be able to comply. If state boards is not able to comply, CPCB also will not be able to submit this information to the Ministry of Environment and Forest. The submission of information is required for answering, for providing reply to the parliament questions and in the parliament also, and to review the status of implementation rules is concerned. Based on this information, they will review by the Ministry of Environment and Forest, and they will have adequate information so that they will go for further steps for ensuring implementation of rules. Annual report should also be available online. Every generator has to play this information in their websites. Of course, maintenance of records already told. All the records to be maintained with the hospitals, at least for a period of 5 years. Next 5 years, you have to keep that the records, and as and when if there is accidents are there, that information has to be submitted in form 1. What steps you have taken, what are the casualties, what measures you have taken to the casualties, what steps you have taken for preventing such things. In case if you are not happy with any orders posed by state board, by the hospitals, they can appeal. Appeal can be done by the state, the healthcare facility, if you are not happy with the orders posed by the state police board. And in this appeal can be done only in form 5 within 30 days of the date of the order issued by the state board to the Secretary of Environment of the state. State Environment Secretary you have to give. You can appeal in form 5 within 30 days of the receipt of the order. Then that appeal has to be disposed of within next 90 days by the appellate authority. Otherwise, action will be taken with them also. Of course, it is the development of COM facility is concerned. Rural site, suitable site for the COM facility development has to be selected by the urban local bodies that keep some adequate site wherever there is no facility depending on the quantum of waste generation. And if there is a need, they have to identify the site for development of COM facility. That site can be given to the operator so that he will develop a facility for ensuring treatment is of within the jurisdiction of the particular area. Now, what action will be taken in case if there is a violation? Rule 18 talks about liabilities of the occupier operation facility. What liabilities are there? Action can be taken under Section 5 and Section 15 of the EP Act. What is that? Section 5 is nothing but you can issue the closure of a hospital or a COM facility. You may ask me, sir, how hospital can be closed? I'm telling you myself, when I was in Delhi, I have ensured one hospital has been closed. I remember one Krishna hospital somewhere in Gujarat. I have taken action for closure. How it is possible? Yes, possible. We can close, we can give instructions to the electricity department and local bodies for stoppage of water supply and electricity. Definitely, without water and the water supply and without electricity, no hospital can generate or operate. Therefore, hospital can be closed immediately. Of course, we'll give certain time for shifting of all the patients. Within 15 days, you shift all the patients, those are undergoing treatment, and after 15 days, you close down your operations. That action can be taken under Section 5 of the Act. Or under Section 15, I can take action against the violator. It can be imprisoned up to 5 years, or we can levy a fine up to 1 lakh rupees. If violation continues, at least we can levy a fine at least 5,000 rupees per day against violator. Definitely, we can levy fine under Section 15. Of course, this is through court of law. We have to file a case in courts and against the violators, and action can be taken in line with the directions of the honorable courts. Of course, if violations are continued, we can put offender even in the jail for up to a period of 7 years. Definitely. Of course, it has not been happened in this country, but we have closed the hospital because of violations of the rules. Of course, this is what I am talking about. Schedule 1. There are 4 schedules I told you. Schedule 1 talks about biomedical waste categories and what is the segregation, how it has to be done, the segregation, collection, treatment, and processing and disposal. Schedule talks about various standards for treatment and disposal of biomedical waste. And Schedule 3 gives about prescribed authority responsibilities and the duties. Schedule 4 talks about label. What type of label you have to put for biomedical waste, containers and bags, a label for transporting, what type of label you have to use for the containers and bags. And similarly, this is what I want to say. These are the yellow color type of waste. You have to go for the human analytical waste, analytical waste. There are H categories of waste in yellow category. All this waste, you have to put it only in yellow colored bag. And that yellow colored bag waste cannot be, once it is tied and put labeled and transported to facility, you cannot dabble with the bags. It has to be disposed of only by incineration of plasma pyrolysis or deburial, as stated under the rules, definitely. And whereas when it comes to the red waste is concerned, you think that these are yellow color waste is highly infectious waste. It cannot be reused or recycled. That waste has to go for incineration only. No waste will be recycled. Whereas red color waste, you can think it of the plastic type of waste. It is infectious waste, but you can go for treatment using autoclave or microwave. And after treatment, this waste can be given to the recyclers. Generally, like plastic waste and all, this waste can be recycled. Therefore, red category waste is infectious waste, but you have to put it in red bag. You have to go for treatment using autoclave or microwave or hydroclaving, followed by shedding. Shedding is a must. After treatment, this waste has to be shredded so that no reuse of that waste will take place. Therefore, you have to ensure by shedding that no your reuse will take place. After sterilization, this waste has to go for recycling, can be sent only through recyclers, or can be used for the purpose of any other methods like energy recovery, plastics. We can recover diesel or fuel oil from plastics, or plastic can be used for the purpose of road making. Whichever is possible, that waste can be disposed of as per the schedule one of the rules, especially in case of red category waste. One category of waste is their white translation waste shops. These waste shops has to be placed only in puncture-proof, leak-proof, tamper-proof containers only. This waste can be treated by autoclaving or dry heat sterilization followed by shredding is a must. These shops also can be disposed of through any iron foundries, any recycler is there that can be disposed of, or no recycler is there, then it can be disposed of only by sanitary landfill only. Or concrete waste short pit can be used, you can dispose of. Here, the container should be white, translucent container, puncture-proof, leak-proof, tamper-proof container. Now, I want to give you one example. Rule says human analytical waste, animal analytical waste, the microbiology waste, and biotechnology waste has to be disposed, cannot be stored more than 48 hours. Now, sir, there is a shower. Can I store more than 48 hours? Yes. If you are using any shower in white container, translucent white container, more than 40 hours is allowed, because if you use any chlorine disinfectant within that container, if you pour disinfectant, and that waste can be stored more than 48 hours, because you are treated waste can be stored more than 48 hours. But highly infectious waste like human analytical waste, the animal analytical waste, biotechnical waste, the laboratory waste cannot be stored more than 48 hours because it is a highly infectious waste. That waste has to be disposed of within 48 hours. Any waste like waste shops, you can keep it in white transparent container. If you use the disinfectant, that waste can be stored more than 48 hours. It is allowed. Similarly, glass waste and other waste, broken glass and other waste has to be stored. The metallic body implants, everything has to be stored only in a blue container. These also puncture-proof, leak-proof containers with the blue color marking only. This has to be disposed of by disinfection. Therefore, these are the technologies, category-wise technology to be adopted, treatment option to be segregation, how we have to segregate this type of color-coded type of waste, and what type of waste has to be treated and disposed of in accordance with Schedule 1 has to be followed by all. Of course, Schedule 2 talks about the standards for incineration, what is the temperature you have to maintain, what are the emission standards to be operated, and also not only talks about the liquid waste. Somebody was asking Dr. Lalita regarding the liquid waste. See, any way liquid waste is generated, you have to go for neutralization. Chemical liquid waste, if it is highly acidic in nature, it has to be neutralized. After neutralization also, if you have taken care of neutralization treatment, you have to, before discharge, that liquid has to comply to these requirements. I'm telling you, without treatment, it is possible to meet this pH, suspended solids, oil and grease, and BOD, except bioassay test. Any waste generated from hospitals, you go and test, even if with the preliminary treatment measures, you can compare to the 4 parameters like pH, suspended solids, oil and grease, and BOD. But any hospital healthcare liquid waste cannot compare to the bioassay test because it is highly infectious. It may fail with the bioassay test. Therefore, liquid waste has to be treated. Then treated waste, complying to these norms, as shown in the screen, has to be disposed of only. Of course, I have not covered all the responsibilities under Schedule 3. Various duties of state boards have been given. I have not given all. And this is Schedule 4 talks about the biohazard label, and the cytotoxic waste for these labels has to be used. And for Part A, whereas Part B is concerned, when vehicle is transported, the transported vehicle should have this label definitely. What is the source of generation, what is the quantum of data waste collection, and where it is going. Definitely it has to be there on the transported vehicles. And I also told that under the biomedical rules, there are 5 forms. One is accident reporting, that you have to, whenever there is accident reporting, that you have to submit in Form 1. Whereas for obtaining permission from the state board, you have to submit your application Form 2. And the state board will give the authorization, that is permission, in Form 3. and annual report has to be submitted by all the generators of biomedical waste by 30th of June every year in Form 4. In where Form 4A, the state board has to compile all this information, the annual report information that they have to submit to CPCB by 31st of every year. And similarly, Form 5, it is the application for filing appeal. In case if you are not happy with any order posted by the state board, then opportunity has been given to the healthcare the facilities to make appeal to the state environment secretary. Within 30 days of receipt of the order, you have to submit you can submit your application for appeal, and that appeal can be disposed of by the appellate authority within 90 days. Of course, the rules are clear. If you want to talk about me, you can have a discussion with me entire day also on the biomedical rules is concerned, but lack of time is concerned. I'm trying to stop at this level. Any queries are there, please, Kali, you can talk to me, or you can raise your queries through my email, or else you can talk to me even now. You can raise your questions if anything is there. Thank you.
Sir, I have a small question here.
Yes, ma'am.
We are not here talking about the big hospitals or nursing home which have got treatment plants or anything, but the small clinics where there are chemical waste generated. How should they neutralize it before throwing in the drain, in the normal drain? Because it's a very small unit, but
Madam,
they do
actually,
have.
no, no, yeah. No, any
Yeah.
hospital, non-bedded
No, no,
hospital.
not hospital, a small clinic
Yeah,
where
no,
the.
a small clinic also, you can go
Yeah,
for treatment. Generally, you can go for disinfection.
yeah, but
Generally, in small clinics, you can go for disinfection. Using disinfectant, you can treat it and you can dispose of. Now, secondly, how you can neutralize? For
yeah,
neutralization, is characterization has to be done. Means whether this you have to measure the pH levels. If pH levels are acidic in nature, then use the alkaline solution and neutralize it till you
but
reach pH level between pH 6.5 to 8. It is a must. Depending upon the nature of the liquid waste, chemical liquid waste, you have to go for neutralization and ensure that that liquid waste comply to the pH levels between 6.5 to 8. That liquid waste only can be disposed of. Whereas infested liquid waste can be disinfected and that you can discharge into the drain. And definitely, it is compulsory for bedded hospital to have their own ETP, or it is not required, but you have to ensure on-site treatment using the chemical disinfection is a must.
right, sir. But some clinics, like I'm seeing around small surgical or other clinics where they're performing small surgeries, or as a dental clinics around us, they don't have these neutralizing units, or there should be someone guiding them or providing them with the disinfectants, or how should they go about?
Yeah, madam. Actually, I could have covered this topic in other topic. I hope so. If IGNO permits me next time, I'll try to cover up in my next lecture about the bund and non-bund technologies. I will give throw some light on next lecture definitely. And you can you see, it is not the question of small clinic or big clinic. Liquid waste is liquid infectious waste. Before you discharge into the drain or so, ensure that that liquid waste, infectious liquid waste, is treated using depending upon the nature of the liquid waste, that you have to ensure treatment before you discharge. That is the responsibility of the clinic. You should not say that I'm a small clinic, but you are generating infectious liquid waste. You cannot discharge. You have to ensure the adequate treatment facility. You have to have the small treatment system. You can have it. There are some type of the on-site liquid treatment facilities are available. I don't know whether you have come across or not. I will try to cover up in the next lecture definitely, please.
Okay, sir. Sir,
No, no.
basically, like some clinic are using for quick disinfectant the
Yeah,
liquid,
yeah. You see, generally you
formalin
can
and
use
all.
the
They
disinfectant.
don't know how to
Just you
dispose
can
of this.
use the disinfectant. Ensure that that is treated and discharged. For no, the clinics, not bedded hospitals.
Okay, sir. I'll
Yes, ma'am.
wait for that lecture.
Yeah,
And it
definitely.
was very informative. You have given a very nice lecture. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for.
Any questions, please? Okay then. Ma'am, Dr. Ruchika, can you conclude, please? Yeah, thank you very much once again, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chandrababuji, for the class. Any more questions? No more questions?
Sir, please you can tell me the validity of certificate in healthcare facility
Please be loud.
of
Please
6
be loud,
bedded.
Surinder.
Sir, please can
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
me
yeah.
the
Coming to
validity
that.
of your
See, I
certificate.
told you authorization is, I told you, permission. Permission you have to obtain from the state board for the purpose of generation, collection, storage, treatment, and disposal. Now, validity of permission, it should be in line with the consent. The hospital also has to obtain consent under Water Act as well as the Air Act, depending upon your the activities. Now, the consent generally in some of the states they give for 5 years, in some of the states they give for 10 years. Now, depending upon the consent validity, that permission under the biomedical waste rules, that is called authorization, should be in line with the consent validity only. Means if consent is having validity under Water Act, whatever you have obtained from the state board is having validity for 5 years, then authorization under biomedical waste rules should be given only for 5 years only. They cannot give for 1 year. Okay? It has to be in line with the consent given by the state boards. It may be 5 years or it may
Okay,
be
sir.
1 year also. Yeah, any other queries, please?
Any more questions? Okay, so I think we can
Yeah.
class. Finish the class. Thank you. Thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.